simply for something else. It's all very well to pray for intentions and to pray for the world and pray for help and all those things. Still, a life of prayer tends, in a way, to be an end in itself. It is right for it to be an end in itself insofar as it is entirely centered on God, who is our end, if we can still use those terms. I suppose people still believe that God is our end in the sense of the goal toward which we orient all our lives, or should orient all our lives. As religious, I suppose we still think of our religious life as a life given to God, consecrated to God, oriented to God. And it is in prayer that we are most dedicated, consecrated, and oriented to God. In prayer, everything in us is, so to speak, centered on God. It is, in a certain sense, in prayer that we are most ourselves, that we are most what we want to be, what we hope to be, what we are called to be. But this can easily become very confused, especially if we have some sort of implicit, confused ideas about what our prayer is all about, or what God is all about, and what kind of a thing the religious life is all about. When we are mixed up on these points, everything tends to get mixed up, and prayer can become a very mixed up and frustrating thing when it should be quite simple. Basically, I suppose, prayer should be as simple as breathing, as simple as living, as simple as just anything. But when we make a great issue out of prayer, that's one reason why I don't like to talk about prayer much, is as soon as you make an issue out of it, it tends to become confusing, it tends to get distorted. It becomes a cause, the great cause of prayer, and then it becomes opposed to something else, which is not prayer. And then you get into this break. Prayer is something sacred, and then you have other things which are secular, and you have to keep them apart, and that's a confusion. Because breathing is neither sacred nor secular. You just breathe. So prayer, too, should be neither sacred nor secular. I don't regard prayer as a specifically sacred activity. It's life. It is our life. It comes from the very ground of our life. I think it becomes a sacred activity when it gets to be quite public and formal and so forth. But, well, anyway, we should not divide prayer against the rest of our life. And we should not make prayer a cause for which we're willing to fight and have crusades, so to speak. You know, T.S. Eliot in Murder in the Cathedral, the temptation of Thomas à Becket was to fear that his cause of serving the church became a temptation, and the vocation to martyrdom could include in it a temptation, for he said those who serve the greater causes can make the cause serve them. So the danger is that our religious life, our prayer, our apostolate, things like that, become causes which we make to serve ourselves. They're great causes, and then we use them perhaps out of a spirit of self-glorification. Anyway, let's start with the basic proposition that we belong to God, and we want to belong to God, and we want to affirm our belonging to God. We want to live in a consciousness that we belong to Him. And that is the great thing in our life, is this awareness of our identity as children of God, that He is our Father, and we live in this constant relationship with Him. With Him from whom we come, to whom we return, to whom we belong. And we belong to Him most completely in prayer. And prayer should be the activity, therefore, in which we are most ourselves. Now, right away, we see that when prayer is not what it should be, it becomes the activity when we're most not ourselves, when we're least ourselves. If we're not praying as we should, we are most artificial in prayer, and we feel that when we are praying, we are